What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of the Believe in Oregon podcast. I'm Zachary, Neel, my co-host over there, Jonathan Stewart. Jay Stu, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just staying busy,
Staying
as you
very
know,
busy.
staying very busy as you are. Um,
Yeah,
it's just a busy time.
man. I'll say to all the listeners, Jay Stu and I mean, we've been talking for like 20 minutes now. We just now hit record, but he updated me on everything he's got going, all the different pots he's got fingers in. Man,
Yeah.
we're lucky to have him. I'll tell you that. We're lucky to get this little 45-hour window each week to get his thoughts on Oregon football. Just be thankful that we're getting him here.
No, thanks for understanding the cloudiness of my days.
All right, man. You're just a lot of people pulling you a lot of different ways. We're happy to have you. We got a couple of weeks away from the season starting. Fall camp is rolling along. Things are starting to feel very real. We talked about it a little before the show, but what's this time like for you? I know it's busy, but you got Carolina Panthers stuff, you got Oregon Ducks stuff, and you're just kind of predisposed to like this time of year as a football player. You start getting amped up. What's this time like for you?
It's a fun time, man. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of feelings that happen during this time of the year because for so long, up until the moment I retired, this was go time. This was the
Mhm.
time where I was the busiest. This was the time where I was dedicated to something. This was the time that I was able to basically be a part of showing proof of whether or not me individually was good enough and as a team collectively, are we good enough? And it's the most special time of the year for football to me because there's a lot of unknowns. Um, a lot of luck has to go your way as far as injuries for your team and yourself, and but it's just a really cool opportunity to like really connect and get in depth with your teammates, your coaching staff, and if this is your rookie year, you got all the bugs, and if you're a freshman, you got all the jitterbugs, and if you're a senior, junior, and this is um you know your fifth year in the pros, you're basically kind of walking into this thing, trying to stay fresh, trying to stay humble, try to stay energized for this process that you've been gone through so many times. And now that I'm retired, I still have this moment where I'm like, oh, I should be doing something. I feel like it's taking its toll on me now because I'm doing so much. I'm coaching kids, in middle school, doing the podcast thing for the Panthers, doing things with Believe yourself. Got some things working. Two other projects content wise that I'm working on. Uh, and then there's this real estate thing that I'm passionate about. And then obviously there's golf, and then obviously I'm a husband and a father, and date nights still exist and they need to
Yeah.
happen. So
Yeah, those do need to happen. Well, absolutely. This is the best time of year. I mean, as someone who's in the content space like you and is asked to provide content year round, it gets difficult in those, June, July months when there's not much going on. But now we're in August, we're soon to be in September, and there's endless things going on and endless things to talk about. So we're going to get into some predictions today. What I asked both of us to do is to bring, a handful of quote unquote realistic predictions to the table. Some can be kind of straightforward, like, yeah, I really could see that happening. Some can be, somewhat bold. I've got a couple of, I think, pretty bold predictions on here, but we want to look at how we think the 2024 season is going to play out. You ready to dive in?
yes, I am.
All right, go ahead and hit me with your first prediction.
First prediction is that Jordan James will have 1,500 yards rushing this year.
1,500. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
1,500. And my proof is that he only rushed 107 times this last year, while accumulating 759 yards, 7.1 yards per rush. And every time he touched the ball, it looked like he was basically running 10 yards a play. you know,
Yeah.
and so I think the offensive line is going to hold up just fine from last year's departure of some elite greats. And um, but I think that the offensive line will be able to prove themselves. And I think with the quarterback situation, first game of the year, I expect Jordan James to probably collect first 2 games of the year. I expect him to have at least 250.
Mhm,
So, because you depend heavily on the running game, explosion plays. Idaho Vandals. They're not really going to be able to compete with what we have up front, which just kind of leaves them exposed and leaves Jordan James with an opportunity to have one of those 180-yard games on 10 carries.
mhm. I could see that
So
happening. I mean, look at Bucky Irving's stats last year. He had 1,180 yards, and he was,
yeah,
he was the bell cow, but he split a lot of the workload with Jordan James as well.
yeah,
I I feel like this is bold because this is another. I mean, we've talked about the running back room a lot over the past few weeks, and I still have a lot of questions. Not questions about talent, but questions about how they're going to do that and how they're going to divvy up roles and stuff. We've talked to coaches over the past couple of weeks, say, yeah, we want to use. They've said, yeah, we want to use 3 to 4 running backs in this offense. So it'll be interesting to see how many carries he gets and how fresh they want to keep him for the end of the season, or if they let him be that true bell cow. So
yeah,
yeah, I see it absolutely 1,000 yards, 1,500. That'd be impressive. I think they would need to give him a huge stake of that offense if he were to get that.
yeah.
All right, my first prediction. I predict that Dillon Gabriel will break Case Keenum's all-time record for yards and touchdowns. It sounds crazy. He's not as far off as you may think. So, Case Keenum, the all-time NCAA record is 19,000 yards, 19,217 yards, and 155 touchdowns. He did that in 5 years with Houston, I believe. Dillon
Hmm.
Gabriel entering this season is 14,865 yards and 12 touchdowns. I know, right? He's done quite impressive stuff already.
This is passing yards or total yards?
Passing yards.
Jesus, it's got
And
fourteen
so
thousand yards already.
So if you do the math, he needs 4,353 yards and 30 touchdowns in this season with the Ducks. That's doable because if you look at Bo Nix in 2023, he got 4,508 yards and 45 touchdowns. So
Yeah,
there's a chance that he has this record in week 11, week 12, and we're going into the playoff. I think he could play up to 17 games this year. I feel like on the face of
yeah,
this
yeah.
feels like a bold prediction. I don't think it's that bold. I think he's gonna blow this
I
record
mean,
out of
and then
the
you got
water.
the additions of Evan Stewart, guys like
Yeah.
him. I'm really high on this tight end presence.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Terrence Ferguson. I mean, I don't want to get into my next bold prediction, but Terrence Ferguson's gonna have 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean,
Um,
before we get in, we'll get into that Terence Ferguson one next, but, yeah, I think Dillon Gabriel absolutely can end this year. He will not only break Bo Nix's record for the most career starts, which is currently held at 61. I think Dillon Gabriel needs 12, I think, off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, but I think he will break Case Keenum's record and go down after leaving Oregon as one of the most accomplished quarterbacks in NCAA history when it comes to yards and touchdowns.
yeah,
Alright, give me your next one.
that's a great one. Well, I'll just go ahead and just
I
say it.
think it's
Terrence
about Terrence
Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Terrence Ferguson. When I thought about it, I said 1,000 yards, right?
Mhm.
Because you said bold.
Yeah.
But I feel like bold is also too like, hey, he's gonna have double the amount of yards he had last year, which he had 414 yards. I think he has the ability to really be, that go-to guy in the Big Ten presence. I mean, you're gonna have to play different ball. It's gonna be a more physical game, and with the weapons that we've added at receiver, the middle of the field is gonna be wide open, and I hope
Mhm.
Oregon really takes advantage of that. When you have Jordan James running the way he's gonna be running, your linebackers are gonna have to come up, and when your linebackers come up, that seam, that middle across the field, that's gonna be wide open. And hopefully we take advantage of it. And if we do, guys like Terrence Ferguson will go off. And so my bold prediction is that he's going to have 800 yards plus
Okay.
receiving.
That's That's pretty bold. I'm looking at just pulled
Yeah.
up while you're talking about the Seagulls season receiving yards record for tight end. Do you have any idea who it is or what the number is?
It's got to be Ed Dixon
It's not actually. Ed
or
Dixon's
Dante
3rd on the
Rosario.
list. It's not Dante. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who this person is.
Who is
Played
it?
in 1997. Blake Spence had
Dang.
631 yards. So you're
Well,
saying that he's
here it
gonna have
is.
800? I could really see it.
I just feel like, you know, if I'm the Oregon Ducks going into Big Ten, that's how I'm playing ball, especially when it gets cold. Like
Yeah.
if we're playing these types of teams where they can't account for all the weapons we have, the easiest weapon to leave open on a defense is the tight end.
Mhm.
It just is. So
Yeah.
um that's my bold prediction. And just really my hope. I hope he balls out.
Well, I mean, it's not hard to see either because when you have a tight end who's as talented as Terence Ferguson is and as much of a defensive mismatch, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of
Mhm.
crazy that tight ends have such low numbers in Oregon history. I mean, I didn't think that 631 yards would be the record. And I'm actually surprised to see that Terence Ferguson's high is last year at 414 yards. It feels like he could do that in a few games. So, yeah, I could definitely
Mhm.
see he will definitely break his own record of 414. I could see him doing what you're
I
saying.
mean, a lot of that comes from, beating the brakes off of teams, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So these guys aren't playing, a lot in their games. So I think this is a tougher conference, and I think
Mhm.
we're gonna have to have guys that are gonna be in there, at least, you know, 2.5 times
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah. All
So,
right. Let's for my next bold prediction, we're gonna keep it kind of on the same theme. I predict that a Oregon receiver will win the Biletnikoff Award this year. That doesn't I'm not
ooh,
saying it's gonna be Evan Stewart or Tez Johnson. I think one of those 2, maybe it's Trayshawn Holden. I don't know. We might talk about him later in one of the bold predictions as well. But I think an
mhm,
Oregon receiver will win the Biletnikoff Award this year.
okay.
So we looked at betting odds for that from Bet Online. I saw odds from another sports book a couple of days ago that updated them, and Evan Stewart is like he's the second highest odds in the nation. I think at plus 650, and Tez Johnson was
Mhm,
plus 1,000. Those aren't the same as what Bet Online, our sponsor, has, so we're not going to use those. But I mean, this. Yes, it's a bold prediction. Excuse me, because I don't think an Oregon receiver has ever won the Biletnikoff, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities with the season that we think that Dillon Gabriel is going to have, the talent that they have at this position. I could definitely see this being one of those years for the Ducks.
yeah. Well, my next bold prediction is that the University of Oregon is gonna go undefeated.
Okay. I saw this one coming from you. You've
You did.
mentioned this a few
You saw it
times over
from
the
a
past
mile away.
few weeks. Yeah.
Saw it from a mile away, didn't
So
you?
are you saying undefeated in the regular season, or you're saying they're going what 16-0
I'm
college
saying
football national champions?
I'm saying regular season, they're going undefeated.
Okay.
Regular
Okay.
season, they're
So you
going
think
undefeated.
they will beat Ohio State at home. They will beat whoever they play, likely Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and go, what is
Yes.
that, 13-0?
13-0.
Okay. Does this prediction extend into the college football playoff? Or are you leaving that be for right now?
Well, I'll stay tuned. How about that?
Okay.
Everyone
All
stay
right.
tuned to how I feel after we're 13-0
Okay.
and shouldn't be surprised.
I don't know if I want to do this prediction right now. I think I will because it's on the same topic. I really don't feel good about this. This is the boldest prediction that I have.
Oh my gosh.
I'm predicting that Oregon loses to Ohio State twice.
Mm.
Regular season and Big Ten championship. I don't know, man. I've been doing a lot of
Uh,
research
for
and
everyone
listening.
watching this,
Yeah.
just ignore what he said.
I
Ignore what he
really
said.
I don't feel good about this. I might cut this part
Yeah.
from the podcast later when we're editing, to be
Yeah, just
completely
go ahead and
honest.
cut it. So everyone that has been tuning in, you missed everything that Zachary Neel said because
Yeah.
we cut this portion of it out. I won't even repeat what he said. I just know that it was very derogatory, and we're looking into it right now. We have, um, all the authorities, in the social content realm looking into him right now.
It's been flagged.
It's Yeah, it's been flagged. A lot of classified evidence has come out that he is gone bonkers.
I'm not gonna get too deep into it. I just wanna say, I think that we might be overlooking the impact that Chip Kelly is going to have in Columbus this year, and
Oh,
I'm a
Chip.
little bit scared of what he can do with that backfield of running backs, and I think we're just hand waving them because they are not as solid at quarterback
So
as
you
we
think
think they
that
should
Chip
be.
Kelly's gonna come in here with a vengeance?
I think he definitely will. I just think that we know how good of an offensive mind he is, and we know how good
Mhm.
the talent is on that roster. So I absolutely hope I'm wrong with this prediction. It's the
Yeah.
boldest prediction I have by far, but I could see a
Well
world where it happens.
well, Oregon, all you have to do is just know these 3 things, okay? On defense: alignment, assignment, and effort. And when I
Yeah,
say effort, you gotta be bringing the violence. It's all that matters on defense. When you're playing a team that's coached by Chip Kelly, those are the only 3 things that matter. If you're not aligned where you're supposed to be, if you don't know what you're doing, doesn't matter about the effort.
true.
So I believe in our coaching is what I'm really saying. I believe in Dan the man, and he's gonna be able to have these guys ready for whatever comes their way. And that's all I really have to say about that, man.
Can I get back on the right track with a positive prediction?
Yes, please do.
Jordan Burch, double-digit sacks this year. I'm gonna say 11 and a
Ooh.
half sacks.
Ooh, nice. I
Yeah.
love it.
We've been hearing a lot of really good things about him. Have you been watching that Team Out West, the documentary that's coming out every Tuesday?
I have not so as you know how busy I am,
Yeah, I assumed, yeah.
I have not had the opportunity to really dive in the way I want to.
It's been really
Um,
good. So when you do get a chance, that 30-minute episodes, 2 of them are out so far. They're really good, but this last week's, they did one kinda diving into Jordan Burch a little bit, and there's been so much positive buzz about him, and they know that there's a monster in there, and they're just trying to bring him out of his shell, and they're working really hard. And I think we're going to see it. I think that he is poised for a huge season. I think he's gonna an extension of this prediction. I think he's going to end up being a first or second round draft pick next year because he's just going to have a massive, massive season this year.
yeah. My next bold prediction is that you remember that floating duck?
Yes.
That's not the last time we'll see him.
I think you may be right there. Do you have inside
I
information?
have no inside information. I just have a feeling that, you gotta strike while it's hot. Strike
That's
while it's hot. Don't let's not forget that this was just some ordinary thing.
Mhm.
That was a good moment, and I would rather have that moment come back up in a big way this year and just kind of spook the college world, and just kind of have people questioning, where their allegiance is, and it would be good for one of those college game day appearances
It
somehow.
would. Yeah, you gotta think about, like, what stadiums that Oregon will be traveling to are right next to a body of water where you could put it. Obviously, I mean, if they go back to the Big Ten championship game, which is in Indianapolis, which is where the Duck originally was when that big
Hmm.
inflatable came up, so that would work, but, I don't know the geography of the other stadiums they're going to. Does the Big House have a pond right outside that they can set up shop in, or I don't know,
And maybe
you've been
that could
there.
be some research we take into
Okay. Yeah.
see where the
I'll take
body
I'll
of water
I'll
is.
take that one off your plate, Jace, too. You got enough going on. All
Yeah,
right.
just a little fun one for everybody to listen to.
I have 2 left. How many more do you have?
I have one.
Okay. I'll do 1, you do your last one, then I'll do my last one. This one,
Hmm.
we mentioned it earlier with Trayshawn Holden. I predict that Trayshawn Holden is going to end the year with better stats than Evan Stewart.
Ooh,
I know. That
Really?
one feels really bold, but
That's
I may
very
be alone
bold.
on this island,
So,
but
are you
go ahead.
getting what are you getting in camp, confidential?
A lot of good stuff from Trayshawn. I mean, we talked to Dan. I wrote a story yesterday on Duckswire about Trayshawn, and more than just the physical stuff on the field, he's unlocked the leadership side of his game this year and really growing and allowing himself to play freer on the field because he's not dealing with these expectations. He knows what he is, he knows what he can do, and that's just allowed him to kind of get out of his shell a little bit on the field. So I think what he brings to this offense is just so different from what every other receiver on the roster does because he's that big physical receiver that can go up and make a catch, that possession receiver on third down that you need. Evan Stewart, this is really not a prediction to bash Evan Stewart at all. I think he's going to be incredible. It's more of just a vote of confidence in Trayshawn because I think that he's going to be one of the primary targets for Dillon Gabriel, and I think he could have a really good season. And another thing is that we're looking at all the talent for Evan Stewart and everything he's done in the past. This is his first year in Oregon system and playing with a new quarterback, and I'm not, that's worth something. I'm not saying it means he's going to have a bad season or anything or not be productive. I think he's still going to be really good. But I also know that Trayshawn has spent some time in this offense with Will Stein. He kind of knows what to expect and what his role is going to be. So I think that matters for something. I could just see a big year coming for him.
Well, that's that'd be great, first of all, which would just mean that Dylan's just gonna have a lot of weapons to choose from.
Their biggest problem is there's just too many mouths to feed and not enough ball to go around. That's the one thing I keep coming back to. It's like I don't know how they're gonna do it and keep everyone happy, but they seem confident in their ability to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's not my job
Yeah, very glad it's
because
not my job. That'd be tough.
um,
Alright, your
okay,
last one.
next, my last one, Tysheem Johnson
Mhm. Yeah.
wears number 0, right?
Yes, sir.
Guess how many interceptions he's not gonna have? 0. My man is gonna be a ball hawk this year, and he's gonna have 7 interceptions.
7. Wow.
7.
What
Yes.
is I'm curious what the Oregon record for interceptions is. I should know this.
I think Jairus Bird maybe?
The Oregon Ducks record for interceptions. There it is. Wow. That's the number. George Shaw in 1951 with 18. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
career
lot.
interceptions.
I was
Single
about to
season
say that's
interceptions.
one one
I
year.
mean, okay,
he was
single
throwing he was
season, 13 interceptions in
oh, that's
1951.
pretty good. That's
Yeah,
darn good. That's
that's
really
still
good.
very, very impressive. Jairus Bird had
Yeah.
7 in 2007.
Okay.
Um,
And so that's where my number 7 came from because
okay.
I remember Jairus just having a stellar year.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just like, bro, you just always around the ball.
It's always good. Man, I
And
love Tysheem. Tysheem,
yeah,
funny story about Tysheem. He, apparently I mean, not to prop myself up, but he really likes me for some reason. We
oh,
were at
good.
media
Well,
day, and I was not at his interview in media day, and he came up to me afterwards, he's like, "Bro, you weren't there interviewing me. What is this?" I was like, "Sorry, man." And
yeah,
I think it's because a year ago when he got here the first time, he came out of the locker room late. Sorry to air you out, Taishim, and was like, he came up to us media members, just me and a couple other guys. He's like, "Guys, where is the practice field? Where am I going right now?" He
yeah,
didn't know.
because he just got there,
He
right?
just got
Last
there
year was
from
his
Ole
first
Miss,
year coming from Ole
so
Miss.
I pointed him in the right direction, and I think that he's liked me ever since for that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
big fan of Taishim. I would love for your prediction to come true.
yeah. Well, Tysheem, make it happen, Captain. Terence Ferguson, make it happen, Captain. Uh, Inflatable Duck, make it happen.
Yeah, you got it.
Um, the whole team, just make it happen. I need 13-0. And then lastly, Jordan James, you just gotta be a dog, man.
Yeah.
Go get that.
Well,
All right,
if
you got
all
one
of
more, don't
our
you?
yes, I got one more. If all of our predictions come true, I think it will lead to this prediction for mine. I'm not predicting a championship. I'm predicting something that's ultimately beneficial for the Ducks, but maybe somewhat frustrating. I think Oregon's looking for a new offensive coordinator at the end of the season because I think Will Stein will be getting a head coaching job
Yeah.
somewhere and will be moving on to the next level. That's just kind of the circle of life for offensive coordinators at this level of college football. We saw with Kenny Dillingham. We saw Will Stein already get some slight buzz in the coaching carousel this past year. If Oregon is going to be as good as we expect them to, he's going to be a hot topic and a very popular name in that coaching carousel this year.
Well, it's a good problem to have.
It is. It's the best problem you could possibly have is other
If
people
I'm a,
want
if
your coaches.
yeah, if I'm an organization, I want the best of the best. Meaning, you're going to be here for 2 years max,
Hmm.
just as long as we keep our head coach.
Hmm.
I'm okay with guys, shuffling in and out, on good standing with the tenure that they've had here. Um, because it just means that they've been doing their job,
Exactly.
right?
At a high level.
Or, or, you know, we just pay these guys to stay. Say, hey
But
man,
that's the thing. Like
you
they're
can go, you can be a head coach. You can go be a head coach somewhere. But we're just gonna elevate the situation over here at the University of Oregon. We're just gonna start paying guys.
But if you're Will Stein or you're Toss Lupoi, you're not in this for the money. The money's great. Don't get me
Yeah, it
wrong.
is
You
money.
love getting $1 million
Listen,
per year, but you wanna be a head coach. You want your own program. You wanna win
yeah,
championships. You wanna lead these
yeah.
players. So
Or, right, you wait until you really got listen, if I'm a college coach, I'm sitting back and I'm building relationships. I'm building relationships because the face of college football is gonna probably be completely different in 5 years. This
yeah.
might be like semi-pro or something, right?
Mhm.
Be another league. And at that point in time, there's gonna be a lot of shifting going on within recruiting, where players end up, how many times they can switch up, all kind of things, right? So just sit back, man, and just enjoy the Oregon ride.
Just
That's
yeah,
my
if you
that's my that's my elevated pitch
it's
to
your
Stein.
advice. Yeah.
Stay.
Well, it's like if you're gonna leave, just make sure you're leaving for the right situation. Don't leave
Yeah,
to some school just so you could be a head coach. Make sure that, if you're not getting the right offers, yeah, stay another
yeah,
year, win a
yeah,
championship, and
man.
then you'll get those right offers. But what
Don't be
I'm
eating McDonald's when you can be eating, high class,
absolutely,
5-star Michelin, you know, dinners.
what I'm most curious to see though is how that coaching carousel plays out on the calendar this year because, the coaching carousel usually starts early December, mid-December.
Yeah.
These teams that are in the college football playoff are gonna be playing into January. So, I mean,
Mhm.
there's a chance if I mean, I'm not saying Will Stein in this instance, I'm saying any college football playoff team that has a coordinator hired away to be a head coach somewhere, they could be playing those college football playoff games without a coordinator. And that could, I mean,
Yeah.
we already know the mess that the transfer portal has with the college football playoff and bowl season. This could throw a whole other wrench into the deal if you've got
Well,
coaches leaving as well.
I honestly think that college programs right now have to consider that, right? When
Mhm.
you're building a coaching staff, you're building a unit, you have maybe a quarterback coach that has the ability to call plays. You might have an offensive line coach to be able to
Mhm.
step in to call plays. And heck, you might have a head coach that has the ability to do so. So whenever you have those instances happening, like, yeah, it's a detriment, like as far as like, oh man, now we have to deal with, searching for another, position or whatever it is. But, you're not necessarily missing a beat if you are, a player, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully the guys that are calling their plays are, has someone there
Mhm.
by their side every step of the way, understanding, why they're calling the plays a certain way,
Yeah.
why this down and distance we're running draw, why this down and distance we're, going to our quick game, and vice versa, and with all the other positions. But yeah,
Well, you also might see the instance a lot more with like what Dan Lanning did at Georgia, where he accepted the job to Oregon and said, "Hey, I'm staying with this team through the end
Yep.
of the season," and he went and coached them up to a national championship as a defensive
Yep.
coordinator. So I
A
feel like
man
you
of
could
his
see that
word.
as well, but it's that it'll just be. I'm very curious to see how that is all going to play out over this year and the next couple of years because the college football calendar is an absolute mess with recruiting and transfer portal and signing day and the coaching carousel. So this extended playoff may just kind of be, dropping a bomb on that. And I'm curious to see where things land when it's all said and done.
Yep.
All right. Do you have anything else for us before we get out of here?
No, man. I'm just glad to be alive. I'm excited for the season. One of the things I'm most excited about is to really see these guys on TV
Yeah.
and see how they move
Hmm.
and operate because we started this podcast after the season and it's kind of hard to talk about football when you're not watching football.
Hmm.
And I'm big on watching games and being able to see how guys move and actually have something to say about them.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think after they play Idaho, we'll be able to have even better predictions and better
Yeah,
takes.
absolutely.
So I'm really excited about the season starting. I'm really hoping to get to the Ohio State game, uh,
Yeah,
and so what a time to be alive for college football.
absolutely. We will be back on next week. I'll just go ahead and say it now. We're having Joey Harrington on for us next week, which will be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure I need to double check this, but I think next week will be our 100th episode. That's not
Oof,
100 of you and me together, but 100 since I started this thing back
that's a
2
big
years
deal.
ago. So yeah, it'll be fun. And Joey was, I think, one of
So
our
should we do a
first.
Century Club?
What, explain? What do you mean?
You've never done Century Club?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
What
I
is
need
it?
you
Tell
to.
me.
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm
Oh
just
boy.
gonna just leave it there.
Is this something I'm gonna regret Googling? What is a century club? What is a century club?
Read it out
Why am,
loud.
why am I reading? Oh no. Oh, a legendary club where you become a key member by drinking 100 beer shots in 100 minutes. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think our producers, I don't think Lindsay would be too happy with us if we did that on a podcast.
Sorry, Lindsay.
That would be fun
But
to do with Joey,
it
though.
would
I
be
would enjoy
it
that.
would be fun to do a Century Club with Joey.
How many
I think
beers
he'd
is
be
that?
down.
How many shots are in a beer? I need to Google that
I
too.
think that's about like 6 beers.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to do all this Googling on the podcast. Um, but yeah, we'll have Joey on next week. This will be a very entertaining episode. I think that's the 100th. It may be the 99th. I need to check that. But so
Hmm.
if it's not the 100th, sorry for all the fanfare going into it. But anyway, it'll be fun. I'm excited to talk to Joey. He's always a really good time and get his thoughts on this upcoming season.
Yeah, that'd be great. Get his football knowledge,
Absolutely.
quarterbacking knowledge.
All right, you can check out more of my work at duckswire.usatoday.com. Follow me at Zachary C. Neel on Twitter. You can follow Jay Stu on Twitter at Jonathan StuR1. Make sure to check out the Believe in Panthers podcast and also check out his new podcast with the Panthers, Stu and Crew. For myself, Zach Neel, for my co host, Jonathan Stewart, we will talk to you guys next week. Until then, take it easy.